Hey everybody, it's Ron from Pick Dawgz, and this is Ron's Bank Shop Breakdown. We're going to go over 5 college basketball games for Thursday, February 20th, 2025. Now, if you like this video, make sure to hit the thumbs up button and subscribe. Put your college basketball picks in the comment section below. And if you're looking for my best bets, including my top play in college hoops, which is my Bank Shop best bet, you can find those at the Premium Picks tab at pickdawgz.com. There's also a link in the description. Alrighty, here we go. Here are the games for Thursday in college hoops. First up, it's Drexel and Delaware. This one is 6:30 Eastern. I like Delaware here in the revenge game at home. They lost the first meeting to Drexel a little while ago on January 25th. And both teams have struggled this season, really mostly recently. They're both 5-9 overall in conference play, but we've seen Delaware lose 7 of their last 8 and Drexel lose 5 of its last 6. I think Delaware gets the much-needed win here. I think they match up a little bit better. I think from a shot quality perspective, also the Blue Hens are the superior team. And when you look at the fact that, Drexel is actually a solid defensive team. They are ranked top 40 in three-point defense, top 100 in two-point defense, but the offense has been a big problem. And I don't like teams on the road that don't shoot the basketball too well and have issues taking care of the ball. They've turned the ball over about 19% of their possessions this season. In conference play, it's been the similar struggles. Sometimes we see teams struggle in non-conference play. They make the adjustments into conference action, and, it's kind of a tale of two different teams, but just hasn't really been the case for Drexel. They've struggled offensively from the beginning of the year. They're ranked 12th in adjusted offensive efficiency compared to the other CAA teams in, conference games. So I got to go with Delaware in this one and lay the points in the revenge game. Next up, we have Florida Gulf Coast taking on Stetson. This one is 7 p.m. Eastern. It's going to be on ESPN+. Now, it's never fun to back a team like Stetson that's on a current losing streak like this, losing a lot of games in blowout fashion and has a 7-21 record on paper. But while it may not be fun, it's still, for me, the proper play when you're looking this late in the season and overreactions by the public and the market itself. I think because of these recent results, we're getting such a good price with the home revenge-minded team in Stetson getting a ton of points at home. I think Florida Gulf Coast is also in a clear letdown spot after the blowout win over Jacksonville. I mean, Jacksonville, you could argue, the third best team in this conference, potentially. So that's a huge win for Florida Gulf Coast. I don't think that they get a blowout win in this one on the road. I think Florida Gulf Coast could certainly win the game outright, but I think Stetson at least covers, and I think we're going to see one of the more competitive efforts we've seen from the Hatters in a long time. I mean, we got to remember that at one point, this team was 5-3 in conference play. Last year, they were a tournament team. They won the A-Sun. I think we see a decent effort at the Edmond Center in this one. Next up, we have Southern Utah taking on Abilene Christian. This one is going to be 8 p.m. Eastern. It's going to be on ESPN+. Now, we took Abilene Christian as our best bet on February 8th over Southern Utah, and that was a 14-point win for the Wildcats, 84-70. But I will say, I watched that game, and I thought Southern Utah, at the end of it, really put together a solid effort, made some good adjustments, and they actually won the final 10 minutes of that game by 15 points, 26-11. Now, it was too late in the game, and the deficit was too large for Southern Utah to flirt with a real comeback, but I still think that's something that they can build on, similar to what we saw from Southern Utah, the same team, in their second meeting against Cal Baptist. The first meeting against Cal Baptist, it was a blowout loss, but Southern Utah in the second half of the game was able to actually win the second half by a pretty good margin. The second meeting of the regular season, Southern Utah not only covers but wins outright as a big-time dog, 60-57. I think we see something similar in this one against Abilene Christian. Southern Utah has been miserable with turnovers this season, losing the ball about 21% of their possessions. That bodes very well for Abilene Christian. It was the big reason why I liked ACU in the first meeting. The thing is, though, Southern Utah recently has done a much better job at taking care of the basketball. Since that Abilene Christian game where they turned the ball over 22 times, Southern Utah only turned the ball over 6 and 9 times in the next 2 games, less than 10% of the possessions against Utah Tech and only 13% of their possessions against Utah Valley. So if Southern Utah can do just a little bit better job at taking care of the ball in this game, I like their chances because they should get to the free throw line a ton. They're a good free throw shooting team. I think their defense holds up a lot better. They should get some second chance looks on the offensive side with ACU struggling on the defensive glass. ACU's in great form, but I think they're a little bit overpriced because of that recent success and because of that first blowout win in the season series. Give me Southern Utah in this one plus the points, and I lean towards the over. Next up, we have Wichita State and Florida Atlantic. This one is going to be 9 p.m. Eastern on ESPN2. Now, the last couple of games, we've talked about Wichita State, where the last 2 Sundays, it was South Florida and Memphis. Both of those were outright wins for the Shockers, and we took them in both of those games. I've mentioned, I think Wichita State's a dark horse in this conference, but they're on a 4-game win streak coming off an overtime win over Memphis. I don't really love this spot for them on the road against another team that I think is a dark horse in this conference and in general, Florida Atlantic. FAU had a pretty slow start to both regular season and conference play. We've seen them win 5 straight games. They're playing their best basketball of the year. I think their defense is severely underrated, and their offense is talented enough to really go on a run. I mean, they're top 70 in adjusted offensive efficiency. They're a good shooting team. They take a lot of threes to make them at a good rate. I think they match up really well in this game, and the big problem for FAU defensively this year has been their three-point defense. It's been one of the worst in the country. It's actually bottom 10 in the country in three-point defense, but Wichita State is one of the worst three-point shooting teams in the country, ranked 346 there. I don't think they're going to be able to exploit those weaknesses. So give me FAU in this one. I think they win pretty handily. Next up, we have San Francisco and Pacific. This one is 10 p.m. Eastern. It's going to be on ESPN+. Now, the home team, San Francisco, they're on a roll right now against the spread. They've won, even in their most recent outright loss to Gonzaga a couple games ago, they still covered the number in that game, getting 16 points. So San Fran's won 4 of their last 5, and they've covered in all 5. I think because of their recent results and recent success against the spread, they're a little bit overvalued in this one. I like Pacific plus the points. You look back to the first meeting of the season series back on January 2nd between these two, 89-81, an 8-point win for San Francisco. So a competitive game. And in that game, San Fran shot 58% from 2, 45%, 14 of 31 from 3, and 91% from the free throw line, and still didn't win in blowout fashion. I mean, when you see those shooting numbers from a team like San Francisco against a 292nd ranked Pacific team in KenPom, you would expect a 30-point blowout win, but Pacific was able to compete in that one. They had more offensive rebounds. The turnover battle was pretty similar, and they had 27 trips to the free throw line. I think Pacific does enough in this one to keep it very close. I think it's going to be an interesting game late. I think San Francisco ends up with the win, but I think Pacific gets the cover. And that's it. Those are the games for Thursday in college basketball. Hope you enjoyed this video. Again, if you're looking for my best bets, you can find those at Pickdawgz Premium, and there is a link in the description. As always, this is Romanelli. Good luck.